I promised you that we would have music for you as well. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, nice to have you.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. So I hope you had some lunch.
No.
Did you? No. No.
I don't
because
eat
you
lunch.
were preparing for the next.
Yeah. I'm so nervous.
30 minutes.
I can't eat.
I feel you. I feel you. Obviously, the topic of the afternoon will be fan experience. First question, just from your point of view, I know that you are a football fan as well. How did your own fan experience change over the years?
Thanks, Alex. So, welcome also from my side. Happy to see you all here at the SportsInnovation. I think the first thing that hasn't changed is that, to me, being in a Bundesliga stadium, living and feeling the atmosphere at every game is still the best fan experience you can have. And that hasn't changed for me since I'm a little child. However, what has changed is that the digital landscape and the technology behind it provides so much opportunities how to get closer to the sports, to the Bundesliga, and experience the Bundesliga in different ways. And let me give you some examples. All those behind-the-scenes documentaries, right, which haven't been there, which I can watch at any time, anywhere, where I want to watch them, is something that I really like. And I really like that especially for sports that are not football. Because me, for example, I'm a cyclist. I love cycling. And watching the Tour de France documentary on Netflix was special to me, right? Because I now understand the sports much better, get more insights, and get much closer to the sports, right? Then you have wonderful video content, right, of scenes of the games that you haven't seen when you watch the game because you were just watching the game, right? But then creative video guys take out scenes and put them in a funny way on our social media channels or on different platforms. Then during the live experience, right, when you watch what we have done with AWS, with the Bundesliga Match Facts, that's a total new experience how to understand the game in a much deeper way and in a much more interesting way. And there are so many opportunities that are given through digital and technology that I really experience it in a different way. And to sum it up, I really love to experience the Bundesliga anytime, anyhow, anywhere, whenever I want to, right? And that wasn't possible in that way a few years ago, especially when I was still a little child going to the stadium.
And of course, your goal is to give more and more people globally the opportunity to get to know this sport, to get to know the Bundesliga. This is what we want to talk about, expanding globally. Per, what are the ideas to enhance and expand the global fan base of DFL, of Bundesliga? What are you trying to do, and how did your own fan experience maybe also school you for the future, teach you?
So maybe starting with the second question, how my own fan experience changed over time. Since working for the DFL, since working within the ecosystem of the Bundesliga, I'm paying most attention at the end of each match day how many goals were scored in total. Why am I doing that? Because one of the differentiation factors of the Bundesliga towards the other top leagues is that there are more goals scored than in any other European top league on average per match day. And this is something, obviously, each match day I hope that this stat is alive and that we keep goals up. But coming back to the first question on how how we are currently trying to expand globally in terms of overall fandom. Stating first that at the moment half of the population is interested in football, and of those half of the population, 1 billion people know about the Bundesliga and or are interested in the Bundesliga, which is already a great, I think, a great statistic and shows us that we have a global relevance. And in terms of awareness and interest / popularity, the Bundesliga is the fastest growing league of all the European top flights, which makes us, really special. How do we analyze this, and how do we understand the fans in general? We are conducting research, but we are obviously working very closely with a tool called Global Web Index. It's an online tool, also which provides a huge richness of consumer insights globally, not only for sports but also for all other brands. And we're trying to understand the number of fans and their interest level across the marketing funnel, from being aware up to regularly consuming. And all this started back in 2018 when we set up the Bundesliga International as a subsidiary, as we know today, with adding lots of team members and doing our homework in terms of trying to understand the global fandom for the Bundesliga and those who are football fans but maybe not super familiar with the Bundesliga. And since then we have developed a marketing framework and a marketing plan across the globe in 14 target markets, based on football as it's meant to be, which is our positioning, and this is the promise. And one factor of this football as it's meant to be, which is raw, pure, romantic, authentic football. One of this is the number of goals, and that we have, the most goals of all top leagues, which brings us back to the second question. Just let me add one point. When we set up the overall marketing system or the marketing framework, we developed a marketing mix which consists of various elements. Starting with the product, we have an amazing media product, and this is one of the key elements, because if we work with strong partners like, for example, ESPN in the US or Sky Perfect in Japan or somewhere else, this is not only our partnership, and this is not only where we are broadcast, but this is also one of the key marketing elements, because if our partner pays a lot of love and attention to the Bundesliga, then this is truly amazing for us. In addition to that, and we come back to that slightly later, everything related to digital, our own and operated channels, as well as our social media channels, are highly relevant part of our marketing mix. We're working a lot with third parties in terms of social and digital, like influencers or content creators, content partners, which help us a lot, especially in the upper funnel of the marketing funnel, in order to drive awareness and interest. We're conducting lots of fan events and fan activities, experiential marketing outside Germany. We have grassroots activities, football schools. We build and renovate small pitches, which we call Bundesliga Common Ground. We work a lot with the international media and close cooperations, for example, with the NFL, which is present today as well. And last but not least, we work a lot with our clubs. We have an international rate card in place with which we are funding international marketing activities of the clubs together with our clubs. This is one of the key elements, because looking into the other football leagues around us, of the top flights, we see that this is pretty unique. So, summarizing everything I said, at core of what we're doing, we try to create as many interest and interest as possible in order to drive as many fans as possible through the marketing funnel, and the digital part is core for us.
You mentioned the fans, the fan base. I ask myself, isn't it very complex to get to the answer who the classical Bundesliga fan is? I mean, when you just look at Germany, I think it differs a lot. You have to look at it globally. So how do you do that, and what are your findings? What are the needs of global potential Bundesliga fans?
So maybe starting in Germany, 50% of the German population is interested or even a Bundesliga fan, and I fully agree that this is quite diverse. And expanding this into international markets doesn't make it easier. As I said before, we are working with a tool, Global Web Index, which helps us a lot to slice and dice the Bundesliga fans, the Bundesliga interested, the regular consumers, and understand where they are, what they do, how they consume, and what the characteristics are. And if we try to identify some very specific characteristics, taking, for example, Japan as for me as a probably the most relevant example, if you look at the player popularity of Japanese football fans, or if you compare that to the global markets, across the globe, everywhere you have usually Ronaldo, Mbappe, Messi, Neymar on top, in different sequence. If you look at Japan, of the top 10, the first 8 are Japanese players. So there you can see that this is a national pride. So then you know what we need to do. So our aim, obviously, in Japan is primarily speaking about Japanese players. If you compare that to the US audience is also quite, heavily or interested looking into US players, but they are really interested in the drama, in the stories from rags to richness, in the razzle dazzle, in everything which gives them all those fairy tales of Union Berlin making it from top to from bottom to top. This is what they're interested in. And then if you look at Europe, it's much more about the football itself. Because in Europe, people are very football savvy, and they are, very heavily interested into the clubs, while looking more like into MENA or Africa, but also into LATAM, they are much more interested in players. So there are lots of, differences, which gives us lots of opportunities, but also gives the clubs lots of opportunities to derive their own marketing strategy to build their brand abroad.
Bastian, if you have the goal to connect to the fans. Obviously, you have this goal. In the modern world, the best way is to connect with them digitally. How do you do this? How do you? Which technologies do you use to connect to them digitally?
So maybe first of all, from a strategic point of view, we want to become the most fan-centric league in the world. That is really a North Star, right? And with that, we want to grow our global fan base, as Per just explained. And we want to form deep relationships with all those fans to support his international and commercial activities, right? If you want to do so, we believe that you need to be excellent in data management. And to be excellent in data management, you need to have the right technology to just deal with that data in a very sophisticated way, right? And therefore, we are already building up a data platform which consists of a highly sophisticated data lake, which we built together with AWS. We are implementing a customer data platform at the moment, and we are thinking about marketing automation. All that will help us then to get very much closer to the fan and understand, A, how the fan behaves within our ecosystem, and secondly, will bring us much closer to the needs of the fan and to understand what the fan really wants to have. And let me give you some examples. First one is hyper-personalization. Nothing new for the crowd here, I believe, and we also believe that hyper-personalization is one of the key success factors, right? And we are already building on that since years using AI. Everyone is talking about AI. Just a few are using it, or Gen AI, right? We already do it since years, and we have some features already in the app which really give you a hyper-personalized experience, right? Then secondly, we need to think about getting away from a Friday to Sunday app. At the moment, we are mostly a Friday to Sunday app. The first game starts on Friday, and it ends on Sunday evening, right? So most of the people come Friday to Sunday. So what do you need to do, what the fans want, to bring them into the app, not just from Friday to Sunday? So we are thinking about, and we have just launched the first mini games in our app. And the data already shows that people are using those mini games from Monday to Sunday. They spend much more time in the app, and they are in the app much more often, right? Is it something that is obvious at first sight that a Bundesliga app has football stylish mini games? Probably not. For us, it is obvious, right? And we will think about gamification features. We also need to think about loyalty and rewarding, right? So that people come into the app. Once they do anything in the app, then we give them rewards, and at a certain point in stage, they get whatever they would like to have for that, right? And what we can offer them. So to sum it up, there is a lot of stuff that we already do to connect with those fans. We want to get away from those Friday to Sunday app, and we need to think about much more offerings, but not from a point of view of what we only believe makes sense. We need to understand what the fans really want, right? And there we are at the moment pretty much on good track.
Per, what about new revenue streams? How are you exploring them, maybe as an additional offer through digital platforms?
I mean, Bastian already elaborated on lots of additional opportunities in terms of a wider marketing idea. But obviously, it has a lot of additional benefits for us, also building future business or even expanding and enhancing the current business. If you look at the media markets, and one of the key products of the DFL is the media product. We see that across the globe, there's not much difference in individual markets. You can see that the cord cutting is rapidly increasing, which means that linear TV, be it through satellite, be it through cable, is declining. The business is still working, and it's still a huge revenue driver, but the trend is heavily declining, which gives a lot of additional opportunities in the digital field, because people do not watch less because they are not in front of the TV anymore, but they still consume a lot, and there's a huge demand, especially for live sports, but on different devices. It's not anymore the TV. It's your phone, your tablet, whatever it is. So there are lots of opportunities to build our business through digital activities. And if you look at those, there's also for us a huge opportunity to build our own D2C ecosystem and to go into that D2C business, to build our own direct relationships to fans and sell them our media product one day. And given that there are lots of discussions around this, and there were lots of discussions, and there still are lots of discussions, we developed a lot of those ideas and answers to those ideas and questions over the past years. But just recently, we said we don't want to discuss this in theory anymore. We rather want to go into reality and want to go practical, and implemented some test cases in Bastian's environment and his team environment, and I think you can probably much better explain what we are doing. Otherwise, we would be stuck with me speaking about technology.
Yeah, thanks, Per. So, what we have decided at the DFL is that we want to make the Bundesliga app the full experience for the Bundesliga. So anything that you can experience around the Bundesliga will be much centrally in the app. So, and therefore we also decided to go OTT, in that case live streaming of Bundesliga games, not with an external application, but we built the ability to live stream games in our environment already in the app. So what does that offer, right? For us, it is an opportunity to offer in markets where, for example, not all games are shown by the broadcaster of Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2. We have the opportunity to live stream them in the app. As of now, this is just for registration, no payment, right? But it offers us and the fans the accessibility to the Bundesliga and to the games, because otherwise those games would have not been shown. And therefore we decided whenever there is the possibility of those residual games, as we call them, we show them with live streams in the Bundesliga app. From a tech perspective, it's a very, very lean approach, I would say, right? We used technology that was already there, and then we added some elements that we needed, for example, from AWS to the service, right? And so therefore it's a very, very lean approach. Are we thinking about adding additional features, thinking about payments so that we could monetize that in the future? Yes, but the discussions will show how we will proceed with that, right? And there's another topic which is quite obvious and interesting to us, is that we believe, and this is then going hand in hand with the discussions that we have, is, and research shows that people internationally want to consume content in their mother tongue, right? And therefore, of course, we need to think about how we can make the Bundesliga more accessible in mother tongue, right? At the moment, we have a lot of offerings which are basically in English, sometimes in a different language, which is then let's say, a localization measure for a specific market. But this, at the moment, still takes a lot of effort from a resource perspective, right? And of course, Gen AI, and a lot of people are talking about it, and also today a lot of people, and tomorrow a lot of people are talking about it. But let me take the example of the Japanese market that Per was just referring to, right? And I always have this example of Makoto Hasebe playing for Eintracht Frankfurt, doing a bicycle goal, right? A highly relevant video for the Japanese market, which we only have with English commentary. And of course, we need to think about how we can use technology to modify that video and localize that video to the Japanese market. But a bicycle kick from Makoto Hasebe is not only relevant for the Japanese market because it's a special goal, right? It would also be relevant for the Brazilian market, or for the US market, or for the Latin American market, or wherever you could watch the Bundesliga, right? And therefore, we need to think about this, thinking about live commentary, which is one part here, right? How easy would it be for broadcast partners to just take the feed if we would offer them a high-class, very emotional, localized live commentary based on AI, right? And what I mean with that is, we all know how in Brazil a commentator behaves when there is a goal, right? And of course, you can't provide a feed based on Gen AI where the commentator would just say, goal, right? No one would take that serious, right? So you have to adapt to, and I'm not doing the goal shout now, right? But you have to adapt to this, right? And therefore, this is also huge potential to everything that we do, be it just marketing, be it the product Per was referring to, and it's also then relevant for how to think about OTT in the future, right? Because as of now, we would also need to build up content teams and commentators and so on and so forth to provide OTT live games in a different market on our own, right?
I would love to learn the Japanese word for bicycle goal. Might be better than the German Fallrückzieher. Yep.
So.
Maybe we will see this in a couple of minutes. The girls, they warmed up, so the next innovation game is about to start. But I have one last question for you. I mean, many of the topics that we talked about in the last minutes were topics that, from my point of view, would have also been topics for a strategic partner. That I mean, it's like the elephant in the room. That we were talking about. You must have heard of it. So the process is stopped. I asked myself, does that change, and in which way does that change all the goals that you have, all the ideas that you just talked about?
So we believe that what remains true, right, is that the ideas and the concepts we built up during this phase have a very high quality. They were very well thought through, and that was the feedback of the partners we talked to. And therefore, they still remain highly relevant for us, right? Of course, what will change is the speed and the scale, how you can bring those concepts and ideas to life, right? Because in the end, a lot of that would have been funded through the external investment, right? And a lot of the stuff that I was talking about, that Per was talking about, to be honest, costs money, and therefore it needs investment, right? And therefore, the scale and the speed will slow down. We will not move away from those concepts from a content perspective, what was in there, right? And of course, bringing a strategic partner in would have just meant that the scale and the speed of that would have been much faster, as it is right now. Now it's a little bit tougher than it was before.
Per, Bastian, thank you for this interesting look into the future.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zuber, Per, Naubert.